Hello and welcome to Follow the Money. I'm Robert Tan, and here we uncover the stories and strategies of how money really moves. Today we talk about how technology and innovation are reshaping how MSMEs and the entire financial ecosystem grow, compete, and thrive in the digital economy. And joining us today is the founding chairman of FinTech Alliance Philippines, Mr. Lito Villanueva. Lito, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Rob, for having me.
Okay, Lito, let's start with this. What's the biggest roadblock keeping MSMEs from going fully digital today?
It's about literacy. It's about education. It's about awareness. So still quite a number of MSMEs right now are still not knowledgeable about how to go digital. No, while we understand that over 100% penetration rate of smartphones in the Philippines, because when I say 100% penetration, because one individual could actually have 2 or 3 smartphones, no,
Yes.
per individual. And the only use case for them, for smartphones, would be just for texting or for calling or for social media. But in fact, the power of smartphones is really meant for digital financial transactions. And the good thing here is that at the height of the pandemic, we've seen the exponential growth insofar as adoption of digital payments is concerned.
Yes.
No? For example, BSP, in partnership with BSP, they came up with two goals of having to ensure to push or promote what they call the digital payments transformation roadmap. One is to move at least 50% of retail financial transactions to digital and onboard at least 50% of adult Filipinos to the formal financial system, or to have transactional accounts by end of 2023. And of those two goals, only one was achieved. No? And right now, we are currently at 55%, close to 55% of retail financial transactions to be in the form of digital. So there is still a work in progress on how we can achieve more Filipinos to have transactional accounts. In fact, at the recent Manila Tech Summit, attended by no less than President Bongbong Marcos, we actually have what we call the 80 by 80 by 2028 goal. That is to move at least 80% of retail financial transactions to digital, and to onboard 80% of adult Filipinos to have transactional accounts by year 2028. So it is now an industry-led initiative. Because as you may know, Rob, FinTech Alliance is comprised of over 140 corporate members, collectively driving more than 95% of retail digital financial transaction volume in the Philippines today. So it's a force to reckon with. So our members would be the likes of GCash, Maya, Grab, Home Credit, and the likes, and even the digital banks. And RCBC is one of those. So the thing here is that we are also focusing on how we can digitally enable MSMEs and on how they could now leverage digital for their own growth.
Now, Lito, between the banks and the startups, who is adapting faster?
I would say the agility of startups would definitely be there. It's already part of their DNA. But for the incumbents or for the traditional players, it would really take an effort, especially on the seriousness and the deliberateness of the senior management, the board of directors, on how they could transform their organization to become not just a future-ready organization, but an agile-ready institution. So for example, in RCBC, when I came in 2019, that has been the ultimate goal on how we can future-proof the business and how we can embrace digital transformation. So, having to push digital transformation is not just a lip service. No? It's not a matter of you putting the word digital in your mission vision, but it's out on how you live it and how you
implement it.
And how you implement it, how you breathe it. Right? And it's more on how you can really actualize and execute things at a much faster pace. No? And in fact, in the case of RCBC, we're a 65-year-old institution. And in a matter of 6 years, we were able to digitally transform the bank. And we have now become the best bank for digital for 6 consecutive years, bestowed by Euromoney. And imagine from us being 9th in ranking amongst the largest private universal banks in terms of assets, we leapfrog from being ninth to fifth in a matter of 3 years. And that is really more about not just about going digital, but it's more of the cultural transformation, because it's not just about technology, it's all about mindset, about culture, and about people.
Now, what kind of messaging does FinTech Alliance bring out for those who are still slow to adapt, and for those small businesses who still think going digital is an expense?
You know, it's not an expense, but it is an investment, because if you want to survive and thrive, you have no option but to go digital. So it's a matter of survival, because if you are really dead serious about having to go to thrive in the business that you are in, and you've seen the top 1,000 Fortune companies, right, globally, and we've seen the demise of these big companies, you wouldn't think that they will be very in the future be gone, and now we've seen that they are no longer there, right? And we've seen how these startup companies or these emerging companies who have embraced digital, and those who are those incumbents who are embracing digitalization have actually transformed themselves into becoming a force to reckon with. So it's really more about ensuring that you feel the pulse of your client base or customer base, especially that the millennials and the Gen Z would now become practically your current customers, right? And you have to, it boils down to having to ensure that you have what it takes to really push for a delightful customer experience, because your success depends on your customers.
Well, it's something we can no longer escape, and businesses cannot be fence sitters anymore, whether to take on technology or not. But moving on, Lito, how is technology changing the game for smaller entrepreneurs today?
You know, a lot. We have seen the exponential growth of fintech players who are into lending, who are into credit scoring, alternative credit scoring algorithm. And we've also seen a number of MSMEs who have also engaged with a lot of these fintech players for access to credit. So I think part of the institutionalization of having to push for digitalization is also, as I've said in the start of our conversation, is really having to invest on awareness, on education, on literacy, and of course having to also ensure that they are also knowledgeable about their cyber defenses, about cyber hygiene, because we know for a fact that cybersecurity or cybercrime has been proliferating, and if there's one commodity that amongst fintech players are united about in having to really promote and push, and that is the word trust, because trust would have to be at the center of all the things that we are doing, especially in the digital transformation that we are pushing right now. And I think one thing that I would want to highlight, I have an acronym for trust, no? Technology that is responsive, universal, secure, and transparent. So if you have trust in all your things that you do, governance in how you do things in your office, in your organization, in how you deal with people, in how you deal with customers, and trust with regard to your platforms, with your solutions, with your technologies, then you are on the right track.
Well, that's what we actually need today, because in the past couple of years, we've seen the proliferation of scams. A lot of Filipinos, not only here in the Philippines, but also OFWs, are being scammed online and continue to be scammed. So part and parcel of that, how important is a digital transformation, not only to the small businesses, but even to the bigger businesses right now who are still not really in tune into getting into the digital platform?
You know, Rob, 2 years ago, we initiated a industry-led cybersecurity campaign in partnership with the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, with the law enforcement agencies like the Philippine National Police, the NBI, including the AFP, plus other industry players. And we call it #Wag Magpaloko, Maging Scam Alerto. It's really more about having to educate everyone, especially the smaller players. But you'll be surprised, Rob, no? Even those who are knowledgeable about these things about digital, some of them are also being scammed, no? Because the advancement in fraud has been staggering, and they are practically what 2 or 3 steps ahead of of everybody, and that's how these fraudsters, these bad actors, are now leveraging technology for
Yeah.
their own good. So that's why I think, to your point a while ago, I mean, you could no longer sense what is real and real, right?
Yes.
What is true and not true, because your voice could be replicated.
AI
your
has been very
AI has
good
been
today.
there, right? So that's why in FinTech Alliance, we have this 4T framework, no? Tech for good, tech for trust, tech
Yeah.
for growth, and tech for all. So this is really meant to ensure that technology, as we know as of this day, is something that would really improve your lives, and that could now really transform the entire industry, as well as uplift the lives of everyone in society.
Now, again, Lito, look at the business community, from the small businesses to the big businesses. Is digital transformation really expensive, or is it just misunderstood?
I would subscribe to it being misunderstood, because if you are not if you don't see the real value of going digital, then you're not yet on the right track, because you need to ensure that the stakeholders, I mean the owners of the company, the members of the board of directors, the senior management, are well aligned with that vision on how you could transform your organization. Because while there may be cost in having to invest on these technologies, but the ROI would be substantial,
Yes.
because your ROI is practically your sheer survival.
Yes.
Right? So nothing beats that justification of you having to survive the competition,
Yes.
of having to make it efficient, of having to ensure that you could really generate cost efficiencies or cost savings out of this investment.
Again, don't think of it as an expense.
Not really, not an expense, but an investment
Yeah.
for the better.
Now, if you had one policy shift in mind today that could make the Philippines more globally competitive, what would it be?
Transparency and accountability. And
And that's the call for today.
Yes. I think, imagine if the supposed 1.2 trillion pesos that have been lost to corruption annually could now be diverted to education, to infrastructure, to MSME credit
Yes.
financing and training, and health and social welfare. We would, as I've said, I saw one post that really resonated well in these current times. Ang Pilipinas ay hindi mahirap,
Yeah.
tayo ay ginagawang mahirap dahil sa korupsyon.
Yes, that's true. We've been hearing that. The Philippines is not a poor country. It's
We're
very
not.
rich, not only in minerals, but also in manpower, but we get a lot of brain drain because
Precisely.
there's not enough work here. People have to go. Now, if you look at the MSMEs of today, how can they plug in into the global value chain using technology of today?
You know, they could access the global markets easily. And we have seen that with the use of technology,
Yeah.
you could now practically sell your goods and services overseas, and be able to be paid and pay all of these transactions, or for of your supply.
Yes.
This is what we call supply chain financing. So this is something that these technologies that we know of right now would really be leveraged and enhance the capabilities of our Filipino businessmen, especially in having to access global markets.
Yeah.
So it's not just having to focus your attention within the local economy or with with your local customers, but practically, especially to your point, Filipinos are talented. Filipinos
Yes.
are world class in so far as
But they're not
creativity.
staying.
But they're not staying because again the lack of infrastructure, the lack of support, the lack of credit, and the lack of capital.
Yeah.
But if we can have a concerted effort between or amongst the private sector, the government, the NGOs, and civil society, and media,
Yeah.
I mean, we can actually come up with a society that is governed by by good people with a vision to really transform the Philippines. And that would, again, as I've said,
Well, that would have a very good synergistic effect.
Precisely.
If everybody helps each
yeah,
other
because
out.
you know, as MSMEs, we are what 99.5 or 99.7% of the economy of the Philippines would be more on the MSMEs, right? Imagine the force that you have here would really translate to becoming the Philippines and as an engine for growth, right? And I think S&P Global Market Intelligence said this in a study that the Philippines is poised to become a $1 trillion economy. By 2033, I think once we, once we fix our house in
Hopefully
order,
we get there.
Once we get there, we hope to be on track in achieving that $1 trillion digital economy by 2033.
Now, you've always championed financial inclusion. What does true inclusion look like in a digital-first economy?
You know, very timely that we're now moving from financial inclusion to financial health.
Yes.
In fact, we had this collaboration with Her Majesty Queen Maxima of the Netherlands, who happens to be also the United Nations Secretary General Special Advocate for Financial Health, where the Philippines has become the model for measuring the financial health of the country.
Wow.
So now we are at 67%, 67 out of 100 as a score, and we are now, we launched that the Singapore FinTech Festival last year. And
What's the passing rate?
Well, you have to be at least 50%. No? But good thing, we used to be
we're past that. Yeah.
We have, last year we were at 53 out of 100. Now we are 67. So the thing here is that we have become the model. The Philippines has become the model for financial health. And to your question, we have evolved now from financial inclusion to financial health, because while we have included everyone to the financial fold, we now have to ensure that all Filipinos or every Filipino would now be financially healthy.
A while ago, you were talking about trust, about transparency. Now, how do we build stronger trust between consumers and digital financial platforms, especially in a world full of scams and misinformation?
Yes, that is a very difficult question, because as I've said, ordinary Filipinos, or even those Filipinos who are already tech savvy, would have some difficulty having to determine what is true and what's not, right? Because of the enhancements in AI, and what you are now seeing here is just the tip of the iceberg. AI, as we see it right now, is again just the tip of the iceberg. We are now seeing in the next few years the evolution of a more enhanced AI capabilities, wherein you could no longer really determine the authenticity of something, right? So that's why
we have to stay vigilant.
Yes, and you have to make use of your critical thinking to discern the reality from fraud.
Now, Lito, and looking ahead, what's your vision for how technology can truly redefine how Filipinos earn, spend, and build wealth?
Again, I would go back to that statement of having to really harness the power of digital and making use of these platforms for good, and for Gen Xers or for other older generations, you could actually learn from your children who are Gen Z or millennials. And that is the way to go, right? And in fact, even our farmers, our fisher folks, for example, in the agri sector, I was really fascinated to hear or to even meet all of these people. They are using their smartphones, they're using the digital financial services with the help of their apos already, their grandchildren. Because you'll also be surprised, because even their thumbprint, nagasgas na because of puro kalyo na, because of hard work.
Hindi na mabasa.
Hindi na mabasa, right? So, and that's how, it's a heartwarming discussion and interaction with these people. But that is also the power of digital and how they could now be able to access credit.
Na, before the children learn from us, now we learn from our children.
That's the way to go. I mean, we are now learning from our children and eventually from our apos, etc.
And hopefully prepare them for the future.
Precisely, because that is where technology is leading us towards.
Now, Lito, we have this portion called rapid fire questions. You just have to answer yes or no. You don't have to explain your answer. Let's start with this. Is cash still king in the Philippines? Yes or no?
Yes.
Can AI replace banking roles in, let's say, the next 5 years? Yes or no?
Yes.
Will digital wallets outpace bank accounts?
Yes.
Can tech alone solve financial inclusion?
No.
Yes or no? Is the Philippines ready for a cashless society? Yes or
Yes.
no? And finally, Lito, fill in the blank. Money is the root of all.
Evil.
We've had a lot of that today.
Yeah.
But we have to stay positive, right?
Yeah.
Especially with the use of technology. But we have to stay vigilant about, AI is getting much, much better today. And a lot of the companies are using it also as marketing tools.
Precisely. That's why I think I commend you, Rob, and also, of course, Bilyonaryo News Channel, and of course your show, in having to propagate that critical component of inclusive digital finance, which is education. This show of yours would really provide that awareness to our Filipino people to make sure that they will be more knowledgeable about the pitfalls, the dangers, and as well as the benefits of going digital.
Thank you. We're humbled by that appreciation. But Lito, thank you for your insights, and hopefully we have more companies like FinTech Alliance to help prepare the next generation into technology, not just looking at it as an expense, but also a movement towards the right direction in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
What we're seeing isn't just financial evolution, it's a full reset of how value moves, grows, and multiplies. The future belongs to those who adapt fast, embrace innovation, and never stop learning. I'm Robert Tan. Stay curious, stay sharp, and always follow the money.